Thank you everyone for joining us. Before we get started tonight, if everybody could join me in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. And now I'd like to introduce tonight's moderator, Bart Thurgood.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the 2021 District 1 Candidate Night Forum. I will add to that this is our very first ever virtual forum district night meeting with the candidates, so that's pretty exciting. Before we get started, let's take a moment and explain how the events of tonight will run and how you can cast your vote for the District 1 director. How does voting and the election process work? Valley Electric conducts elections in each of its 6 districts. 2 districts are up for election each year. Board members are elected in their district to a 3-year term. An independent company, Survey and Ballot Systems, which is also referred to as SBS, administers the election. They are a worldwide company that has administered VEA elections and those of many other electric cooperatives throughout our nation for many years. Ballots will be mailed out to the members of District 1 on Monday, March 15th. As usual, you'll be able to vote by mail, online, and by dropping off your ballots at VEA's main office. Mail-in ballots must be postmarked no later than April 15th and received by SBS no later than April 20th. Online voting closes on April 20th at 9 a.m. Hand-delivered ballots must be delivered to the drop box at VEA's main office no later than the close of business on April 14th. Please note that we'll go over these dates again as we close the meeting. Due to the district meeting being held virtually this year, in-person voting will not be an option for this election. The winner of the election will be announced at the virtual District 1 meeting on April 29th. The winner will also be posted on VEA's website. So how will tonight run, being that it's a virtual meeting? This is a forum. The purpose of tonight is for you to become familiar with the candidates running for District 1 Board of Directors seat. Each candidate will have 2 minutes to tell a little bit about themselves and their overall qualifications for the director position. After introductions, each candidate will have the opportunity to answer a total of 6 questions. The first 3 are predetermined questions which will be asked of all the candidates. The last 3 questions will come from those that members who pre-registered submitted for tonight. Using these questions, staff will create a random choice generator to select one of the questions by random to ask each candidate. As a courtesy to the candidates, please keep your microphones muted during tonight's event. Any background noise may cut off a candidate during their responses. So, without further ado, let's meet the 2021 candidates for District 1 Pahrump South District. Please note that the candidates are being introduced in alphabetical order based on their last name. Candidates, once I introduce you by name, you may begin your introduction, and please include what qualifications you have to serve as a director. We will start with Michelle Caird. You are on mute.
Yes. Good evening and welcome, everyone. Thank you for making this possible this evening. I'm Michelle Caird, running for District 1. For the last 2 years, I've been serving on the Valley Electric Association's Board of Directors. Before that, while I lived in Spokane, Washington, I had 18 years on the Electric Cooperative Board up in that area. We were the largest co-op in Washington State. So I have almost 20 years of experience serving on electric boards. I also have organizational management background. I am a certified mediator, and I worked in the criminal justice system and did accounting. So I look forward to this evening's debate.
Thank you, Michelle. Much appreciated. Bill Carnes. Bill, I got word that possibly, and I can't tell if you're on, but I did hear that you're running a little late because you're traveling from Las Vegas. I just need you to let me know if you're available.
Bill is not on as of right now, Bart.
Thank you. With that then, Pete Ghazi. Pete, I believe you're on mute. Nobody can hear you.
Okay, I should be unmuted. Can you hear me
You
now?
are. Yes,
Okay.
yes, we can.
Good evening. So we're supposed to be talking about ourselves a little bit. I've been a member of Valley Electric for over 29 years. I came to this valley because I love the people. I love this co-op. I feel that the work I have done in this valley, I've been involved. I have been a general contractor. I work for the Nye County School District as a substitute teacher. I've been working for over 10 years as a paraprofessional with Nye County School District with autism. Yeah, right now I'm working in Rosemary Clark Middle School. I've been a director, like I said, for over 10 years with Valley Electric. I have my board certification, my gold board certification. I have attended over 42 NRECA schools. I hold a Bachelor of Associate of Applied Science degree from New York City Community College, Voorhees Technical Institute. I have a business management degree from them, and I'm also have a degree in offset lithography. I'm a member of 14 local service organizations. I have had, like I said, over 10 years on the board. We've had our ups and downs over these past 10 years. But if you look at how we stand with the co-ops around the country, with our rate structure and how we're looked up to, Valley Electric is within the top 5% of all the co-ops in this country. And I'm proud to be part of that legacy. Thank you.
Thank you, Pete. And we want to thank the candidates for introducing themselves. And with that, at this time, we'll now be moving into the next portion of the forum. And that will include asking each candidate 3 predetermined questions. Candidates, as I address each of you by name and read the question out loud, then you may begin with your response. We will start with Michelle. Michelle, explain one of the most difficult or complex decisions you have implemented, focusing on how you approached the task and arrived at your decision.
Thank you, Bart. Probably one of the most difficult decisions that I had to do, I'm going to relate it actually to board experience, was one of our CEOs came to the board and wanted to take advantage of an opportunity. Hawaii Electric Cooperative was just starting in those days. They had no experience at all. There were no co-ops on the islands. And our CEO requested that he go there for an entire year, coming back occasionally to also continue being of service to Inland Power and Light. After the board fully discussed both the pros and cons of having a CEO long distance, we chose to release our CEO. And this was, of course, very traumatic to the staff, to management team, because of course that meant all new CEO coming in. And so the board, though, determined that we needed a full-time CEO. So it was collaboration by the other board members. Together, we chose to take care of our co-op first and watch out for our members before allowing him to go off to another CEO position far away in Hawaii.
Thank you, Michelle.
Thank you.
So is Bill here yet?
No, not yet, Bart.
Okay, then Pete, explain, do you want me to repeat the question, Pete?
Yes, please.
Okay, explain one of the most difficult or complex decisions you have implemented, focusing on how you approached the task and how you arrived at your decision.
Well, the toughest decision that we had to make while I was on the board was to maintain our cost of power in a period of time with high unemployment all around the country, especially in Pahrump, and with our senior citizens not getting any increases in their Social Security payments or pension payments. And we, as a board, I included, made a conscious decision to forego any rate increases for that period of time. And what we did was we did buyouts of power contracts, we did blend and extends, we did anything necessary to maintain that cost of power for a 10-year period of time. It was very difficult. It put a lot of strain on our co-op financially and mentally on the staff. But we felt that it was a conscious decision to make to go and support members of our communities, not just Pahrump, but all our communities, that we had to maintain the cost of power that we had. We did it. And looking back on it from hindsight, I think that we probably could have done some small rate increases on an annual basis that would have accomplished the same thing. But we made a conscious decision to try and maintain these rates for the purpose of helping out senior citizens and people who are marginally working for that period of time. Thanks, Bart.
Okay. Thank you, Pete. Appreciate it. We'll move on to question number 2. And Amy, I'll just look for you to tell me when Bill joins the meeting. My assumption is he is not. So Pete, you're up again. This is your turn. What board committee would you see yourself either most or least qualified for?
For what? Probably finance. I find that to be one of my strengths. That would probably be the one that I would be the most comfortable with and would probably go and be of the best benefit to the members of the co-op.
Thank you, Pete. Michelle, do you need me to repeat the question?
No, thank you, Bart.
Mm-hmm.
I was chair before I became president of the Finance Committee, the Member Liaison Committee, and the Policy Committee. And policies and the bylaws are definitely a strength of mine and working with the members. The Finance Committee was also, I very much enjoyed being on that because getting into the finances of the co-op is probably one of the most important duties we have. Probably the least comfortable would be the charitable foundation. And we're very lucky that we do have two directors that are very well qualified to head the charitable foundation. But I would definitely say any of the three that I chaired originally, I would be completely qualified to do them, especially with my background doing accounting. And I was part of the finance committee for Northwest Public Power Association, where we looked at the entire association's finances.
Thank you, Michelle. We'll now move into the third question. Michelle, I'm going to shake it up and have you go next. What were some of the most interesting experiences you had? Okay, let me start the question over. I buffed that. My apologies. What were some of the most interesting experiences you have had related to boards, and some of the most important things you have learned?
I believe that the one thing that I've learned about boards is that it's the dynamics of the members of the board and how they look at things from different perspectives, depending on what their backgrounds are, is probably one of the biggest things I've learned. And I'm sorry, repeat the last part of the question, Bart.
And some of the most important things you have learned.
I believe that you need to hear out all the board members, allow them to say what they believe, discuss issues thoroughly, get as much input as possible, and then collaboratively come to a decision so that all members of the board believe that they've been heard and that their ideas are just as important as anybody else's.
Okay, thank you. Pete, would you like me to repeat that question?
Yes, would you please, Bart?
Certainly. What were some of the most interesting experiences you have had related to boards, and some of the most important things you have learned?
Well, what I've learned most of all about boards, and I've served on several of them, the Valley Electric board, the Valley Electric board that I served on was probably the best, is that it's a group of individuals who have tasked by their members or whomever elects them to act on their best interest. And I've found out that you can never, ever make everyone happy. You're always going to have someone who's going to be dissatisfied. But if you go into the room with an open mind, you listen to everything that's said from everyone and express your feelings. And when I was on the board, we had one member who very rarely expressed their feelings. Listen to everyone's feelings and then go and come to a conclusion. It's usually the best case scenario for coming up to the best interest of the members of the co-op. Again, a co-op is just a group of people working together for a common cause. And the board is just a group of individuals who are elected to try and get that information together and to hash it out and to come out to the best interest of what the members want or what the members need. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Pete. So we can set up for the next section of this forum. We're going to take a 5-minute break. We will see everybody will rejoin at exactly 6:25. Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome back. We will now continue and move into the member question portion of tonight's forum. I'd like to remind you that this portion of the forum was taken from questions provided by you, the members, upon registering for tonight's event. Before we get started, I will turn the time over to Amy Carlson, who has some general announcements and will also explain how your questions will be selected for each candidate. Amy?
Thank you, Bart. So a couple items before we move on. One of the member questions we received was regarding land being donated for the solar farms and why haven't members seen a drop in the bills from this donation? This question was removed from the candidate portion only because we did not see it was fair to present them with a question that they didn't have appropriate information to answer. So we wanted to clarify that question in case the member that asked is joining us tonight. And for any member that has the same question. So the land where the solar fields are up on Simpkins was not donated due to perception. VA actually purchased that land for $398,000 back in the beginning of 2015. The power we receive from the solar farm is the highest cost of power in our portfolio due to the date of its inception. So we got into power before power was cheap. So back in 2015, when the plant was built, solar pricing was at a premium. Solar costs have just recently begun to become more affordable compared to other sources. So for that member, if you're on, that's why your question was not included in the candidates. There were also a few other questions that were submitted for the candidates that were not relevant to their prospective positions on VA board. Questions regarding local political action and road maintenance were not included in tonight's forums, as these items are outside the authority of the VA board. For these answers to these questions, we encourage you to contact your local county commissioner. And then for the remainder of the questions submitted by the members, they have all been recorded in the order they were received exactly as submitted. No changes were done by staff, including punctuation or wording. For each candidate, the questions will be entered into an online random generator. Then that will select each question for the candidate. Each candidate is going to receive a total of 3 questions from the members. Thank you, and back to you, Bart.
Okay, well, let's get started. Let's do this. To begin, I'll announce the candidate's name, and then the staff will start the question generator, and once the question is read aloud, the candidate will begin their response. Michelle, we will begin with you. That's right, Michelle. We're going to begin with you, I promise.
Okay, I'll just wait here till we get that question.
Okay, me too. Well, let's see.
Here we go.
There we go. There for a minute, I thought I was going to have to start singing. So as you can see, as she scrolls through here, all the questions that were submitted by the members are in this list. And then we have had this computer program to help us to where we can choose random questions. This basically replaces the index card being put in a drum and selected manually, since this is a virtual meeting. So with that, Amber, please click on that pick a random item. There's the questions coming up, and the random question that was selected is, Michelle, what is your position on commercial solar plants versus residential solar installations?
I believe they both have a place in our communities. Residential solar, of course, deals with just the resident on that home, whereas commercial solar plants, any electrical industry can buy from them. So I believe they're both needed, and they both benefit the electrical industry as it stands today.
Okay, thank you, Michelle.
Mm-hmm.
Pete, you are next. We will go to your questions. Again, they're all listed, and the computer will randomly choose one. Pete, are you going to roll back the 9% increase that wasn't supposed to happen for 10 years? You're on mute, Pete.
Okay, I finally got it off.
Okay.
Sorry about that. Am I going to roll back the 9% increase? Would I roll it back? I don't believe so. We have a problem as far as finances are concerned. From what I can see, as I'm being an outsider, I don't have privy to all the financial information right now. But what I can gather and see right now, residential solar is putting a big strain on Valley Electric. Valley Electric now has previous members who have solar. They're grandfathered in for 20 years at the rate with net metering. That puts a tremendous strain on the co-op. So right now, I cannot see us rolling back the 9% increase. But if I get on the board, one thing that I proposed, and I spoke to the CEO about this, is we need to come up with a different rate structure. The rate structure we're using right now is inadequate. What we need to do is to take and reduce our rates, okay? So as far as reducing the 9%, yes, it would. But what we need to do is we need to have a new cost of service study. And over a predictable period of time, we need to increase our facility charge, which we all pay every month, which pays for the poles and wires and the people, the trucks, the buildings. And we need to cover that cost. Then what we can do is reduce the cost of the power to each member. What that would do then is it would take away the subsidy that we're giving to members who have solar. And this way, anytime that our cost of service is increased, we don't have to do a rate increase because our cost of service would then increase or decrease depending on what our cost of service is. So our cost of service, what you see on your bill, it does not cover everything. Cost of service is supposed to cover the poles, the wires, the people, the benefits, the buildings, the insurance, and it's not anywhere close to that. That's what I would like to do over a predictable period of time, not in 1 or 2 years, but slowly over a period of time. Thank you.
Thank you, Pete. We appreciate that. Michelle, we will go back to you and go to the random question selector. I think. There we go. Michelle, in light of the pandemic, job losses, etc., what strategies do you have to help lower electric costs and help our community?
I believe that our strategic plan together with management is looking at the issues of electric costs. I don't know so much about lowering electric costs, but maintaining electric costs are our primary mission, I believe, at this time. And that will help our community knowing that they will maintain. Unfortunately, issues such as Texas that occurred will have kind of domino effect. And so the electrical industry totally, at least on this side of the country, is going to be impacted by things like that. We're looking at where to buy our power all the time. We have a new engineer that just came on. He's doing power supply. Our power supply is our most important issue, and the challenges that we're facing with power supply right now. Last year, we had possibilities of rolling brownouts and blackouts. We thank heavens did not have to implement those and impact our members, but there were parts of California that did have to do that. The electrical industry is complex, and maintaining low rates is of course a priority, but there's so many other issues that come into play when looking at keeping costs stable and as low as possible, while also maintaining safety, maintenance, high quality staff that we have. So we believe that by being able to keep Valley Electric solid, that we will be helping our community because of the standing that Valley Electric has in our community.
Thank you, Michelle. We understand that Bill has now joined us. What we'll do, this is the second random question. Pete, if you don't mind, we'll move into yours next, and then I will give the floor to Bill, and we'll catch up with Bill here as soon as we're done with this.
That's fine.
Here's your questions, and we will randomly choose one from those that the members submitted. Pete, why would you run again for the district when the members made it perfectly clear that they no longer require your service?
Well, what happened was the members did not make it perfectly clear that they did not want my service. A group of individuals who had a large voice was speaking up at the time. And I chose, for the benefit of the co-op, to go and swallow my pride and go and resign to stop this group of individuals from trying to take over the co-op and ruin the good work that we had done over a long period of time. I made a conscious decision to do that. And at the time, I also said that I would try to come back again, because I felt that the board that I served on did an excellent job, and they did. 10 years without a rate increase is unheard of in this industry without having hydropower. Hydropower is a different thing. You know, hydropower is cheap. It's a very small part of our portfolio. It's only like 3 to 4%. So I made a conscious decision to protect the co-op from a clandestine group of individuals, a small group. And I made that decision, but I also made a promise that I would also try to come back.
Thank you, Pete. Appreciate that. Bill Carnes, welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah, we understand that you had some issues getting back from Las Vegas. So
Yeah, the weather was none too kind.
Weather. This was weather related.
Well, yeah, actually it was snowing on the pass on the way up, and it was pretty ugly. And of course, we're dealing with Las Vegas traffic. Do you have my video feed?
Yes, we do.
Okay, good.
So let me update you and let you know where we're at, Bill. I'm going to, in a minute, I'm going to turn the time over to you where you can do an introduction. It's a 2-minute introduction where you tell us a little bit about yourself and the qualifications that you have that qualify you for a seat on the VEA board. Once that is completed, just to let you know, we are at the point of random questions. It's the last portion of our forum tonight, and we have 3 questions each director. We are on the second one. And so once you're done with that, then we will bring up your questions. And by the way, these are the questions that were asked to the members when they registered. And just like you putting a card in a drum and rolling the drum and pulling out a question, we're using automation to do that. So we have all the questions that's asked specifically of you in the system, and we will randomly pick one for you. And then you will be here for the last question as well. So
Sure.
With that, Bill, please introduce yourself and tell us about your qualifications.
In blue collar areas that include physical labor, non-physical labor. So I have quite a vast array of life experience that I've gone through. Having also seen everything that VEA has been going through, keep in mind, I've actually been in Southern Nevada for more than 40 years now. And with that, I have noticed certainly over the last 16, 17 years, how things have been going with VEA. There are a lot of challenges that are upcoming with the new ballot measure that was passed that changed the state constitution to require 50% renewable energy be sold. That can be a nightmare for a lot of people around here, considering that rates could potentially go as high as the average mortgage that people will be paying. And most people in Pahrump simply cannot afford that. So one of the things I really want to help do is ensure that the overhead at VEA is as solid as can be at its lowest to have efficiency, that folks are hyper focused on the member owners and making sure that we're able to get reliable power at the most reasonable rates possible. And I have quite a bit of quite a deep resource of folks who've been in this industry and been in the power and power generating industry on my side. And I'm working diligently to come up with some of the ideas. We have several that are we're working on now on being able to help with this power generation and keeping us down. Obviously, it's a step progression between now and 2030, between 25%, 30%, up to 50% within the next, it's just under 9 years now that we need to be there. And some ideas where I believe that VEA seriously needs to look at resources we've got now. And these are things we need to bring to the table. This is why I'm running for VEA. I want to really start moving things forward. I've certainly seen all of the information that the directors get each month. It's 120 pages of a lot of information that seems like if there's a small team of people who must work a darn close to full time to produce this information. And a lot of it, when it comes to needing to move forward, seems like it might actually be a bit of an obstacle. So I want to see that sort of thing streamlined. Make sure we don't have too many chiefs and not enough Indians to actually produce things at VEA.
Okay, thank you, Bill. So without further ado, we will pull up your third or the second random question.
Sure.
Now, it's been a little sticky, Bill. I'm going to warn you. It's been a little sticky system tonight. So we may have to chit chat, dance, sing, whatever it takes to wait for those things to come up. There we are. Again, Bill, these are all the questions that were asked under your name, and we will now choose a random question.
Thank you, Alex Trebek.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. What is your plan to promote transparency and accountability to the owners?
Well, I'm glad that question came to me because that's one of the principles that I'm running on is transparency and accountability to the owners. My plan for that is to make sure that everybody at VEA from the top down understands that the people at the very top are the member owners and we're all working on their behalves. As member owners, they need to be able to understand everything that legally they're able to see should be made available to them. And the only thing I'm aware of at this point that they can't legally be able to see would be human resources related issues. If there's anything accounting related, if there's anything related to, say, buyouts or early retirements, anything such as that, which historically has been difficult to get and sometimes impossible to get from VEA, that needs to be made available to the member owners, either through a private login that they have via an account, or if they need to be set up to where they go into the office to look over some things, say in physical form, or even if it's done up on a microfiche, I don't care. But those sorts of things need to be made available to people because we all have a vested interest in VEA. So that sort of transparency and accountability, be it financially, what happens with various hires, what we're doing when it comes to union negotiations for linemen, things like that. Those things need to be made available, where we're starting, where we're headed, and where we get to as soon as possible for all the member owners.
Thank you, Bill. So with that, we will now move into our third and final random question. And we will start with Pete. Here we go. Since you were a member of the board when the decisions made led to the financial problems and what appears to be a gross neglect of your fiduciary responsibility, why would members elect you to the board?
Well, because I took my fiduciary responsibility very strictly. Like I stated before, the financial problems, quote, that people think we have in the last 2 years were neglected. They were put off for a period of 10 years. From the hard work of the previous boards, the previous CEOs, what we did was we made a conscious decision to keep rates artificially low. They should have been higher, but because of the recession, we made a conscious decision to go and do buyouts of power purchase agreements. We did that 3 times to the best of my knowledge. All that does, though, just so you know, is it pushes the can down the road. Those fees still have to be paid. But what we did was we allowed the members a period of 10 years without an increase in their power cost. Their kilowatt hour charge stayed the same. Now, was that going to have to be paid at some point? Of course it was. Did we know it was going to have to be paid at some time? Of course we knew that. We all knew that. But like I said, it was a conscious decision because the members of the 6 districts, and as a member, we're electing a board member from District 1. The board member from District 1 doesn't only represent District 1. They represent every member of Valley Electric, from Fish Lake Valley to Sandy Valley. And a lot of the members could not have afforded to go and pay for a power cost increase. We have a lot of people on Social Security, a lot of people on other fixed incomes. Like I said, we made a conscious decision to do that. Would I have done it again the same way, as I mentioned before? Maybe not. Maybe I would have done a multiple group of smaller increases, but the final decision, what we made at the time, we hashed it out, and it was a decision that was consciously made to protect the members.
Thank you, Pete. And Bill, you're up next. We're going to pick another random question. If you are willing to impersonate an officer of the law and drive an unregistered vehicle with fraud plates, why should you get my vote?
Well, if I were to actually have done those sorts of things, I would think maybe you didn't want to give me the vote. So not surprising that someone likes to throw in some sort of question like this. Back in 2015, I think it was, I was arrested and charged with these things. Not only was I not prosecuted for these things because the arrest was shown to be illegal, I was actually handed a letter of non-prosecution by the district attorney at the time, who told me not only did we not find enough information on this arrest in order to try you for proof beyond a reasonable doubt, we couldn't even find enough information to justify probable cause, which probable cause is the bare minimum needed to make an arrest. So that meant that the arrest was illegal. So regardless of what the charges were that went through there, it was an illegal arrest. I believe it was a politically motivated arrest. The reason is that while I was in booking, NCSO immediately put out a press release, which why would they put that out unless they have somebody they consider to be high profile in there? And funny enough that one of the reporters from Pahrump Valley Times just happened to be driving through the parking lot at the time I was going through this with the officer. So with all this being said, if you know me and you don't like me, that's fine. That's okay. But to use this sort of thing that was it was a false arrest. It didn't go through. I did file suit in federal court. Things did go my way. So, you know, that's essentially, none of that really has anything to do with this. It wasn't a lawful arrest. None of those things happened as being any sort of truth behind them. It was essentially, it was a spitting contest with the police officer. And I'm a former Las Vegas Metro officer. If you actually read the article, you'd see that. And I cited my personnel number to the guy while we were debating. He asked me where I got my knowledge from. I told him where I got it from. And from there, he decided, well, I'm going to arrest you for impersonating an officer because he was losing the debate. So he won that afternoon. I won in the end. So there you have it. When it comes to actually doing the job for VEA, the thing is, I'm a guy of integrity. I've got a family. I've been in town for a long time. I've worked with a lot of various organizations. I've been involved in politics. I've been involved in a lot of businesses around here, always promoting Pahrump and the entire region and our community and our way of life, which is exactly what I intend to keep doing at VEA by bringing in good, solid, reliable energy and at keeping the rates down.
Thank you, Bill. Appreciate it. And finally, Michelle, your final question for the evening.
You're going to have to pause for technical difficulties.
We're going to pause for technical difficulties.
Good, no question. Okay.
Michelle, have you ever been arrested or had charges brought against you Do you feel you model cooperative values?
I have never been arrested or had any charges brought against me. I actually have a 2-year degree in criminal justice and worked in the criminal justice system for almost 13 years. I believe that I model cooperative values of working together and representing my co-op as a whole. So yes, no, I have never been arrested or had charges brought against me.
Okay, thank you, Michelle. I appreciate that. Well, again, we want to thank the candidates for their responses, and I believe a job well done. Again, this is our first ever virtual candidate night, and I believe it went okay. So thank you, everybody, for your patience and your participation. As we close, I want to remind everybody that the voting opens on Monday, March 15th. As usual, you'll be able to vote by mail, online, or by dropping off your ballots at VEA's main office. Mail-in ballots must be posted no later than April 15th and received by SBS no later than April 20th. Online voting closes on April 20th at 9 a.m. Hand-delivered ballots must be delivered to the drop box at VEA's main office no later than close of business on April 14th, 2021. Due to the meeting being held virtually, as a reminder, in-person voting will not happen this election. The winner of the election will be announced at the virtual District 1 meeting on April 29th and will also be posted on VEA's website. Again, we thank the candidates. We thank you as the members for participating in VEA's first virtual candidates night. We wish all of you a good and very safe evening. Thank you.